But your heart obviously works great now. I mean, you did that Vegas run. The crazy bike thing.
Bike, yeah.
Which was fucking hilarious because you and I were talking about it, and then Lance Armstrong gets a hold of me. He says, hey, man, I want to help him.
Yeah, I remember I got the text from you, and you're like, yeah, would you want Lance to coach you? I was like, oh, yeah, fuck yeah.
So what did he do?
The bear shit in the woods. So, I mean, it was funny because he like came out and I was like, expecting, I was like, okay, like, what kind of drugs do I need to do? I'm like ready to get all doped up. And he didn't really like want to talk about any of the drug shit, which was like kind of disappointing.
He didn't want to talk about the drug shit?
No. I was like, I thought this guy would have like some like miracle formula, right? I was like ready to get all hooked up. But I actually had like a super high hematocrit count. And he was actually the one that told me, he's like, I think sleep apnea makes it so that you can have a really high red blood cell count. Mm-hmm. So I actually have like the equivalent of like the guys that are doing the EPO and doping. I have
from
like,
sleep apnea?
I guess
sleep apnea helps in some sort of a way.
Well, because you're basically at night you're
gasping for air.
Yeah, gasping for air, and you're lacking oxygen. So it's kind of like goes back to the whole like sleeping in an oxygen tent, right? So the reason you do that is because you don't have enough oxygen. Because you don't, your body stimulates your red blood cell count, and so because red blood cells are what transports the oxygen. So the less oxygen you have, the more your body produces that. Well, if it gets to a certain point, then your blood kind of turns into fucking syrup, right? So
this is amazing. Look at that surprising link between sleep apnea and red blood cell count. According to Sleep Review magazine, elevated red blood cell count or a high hematocrit is an indicator of a lack of oxygen in a person's body.
Yeah,
that's amazing. So sleep apnea can actually give you more endurance. Sort of.
Well, but
you're tired.
The problem is you don't really recover. So I actually because of him, I actually ended up getting a mouth guard, which I think helped.
I have a really good one, and I know a really good doctor. I don't know if yours is the same as we'll talk about that later.
I think mine was like $50 online, so probably not.
Yeah, it's probably not.
Yeah,
there's a guy that's close to here. It actually pushes down in your tongue because the issue is with a lot of guys who work out a lot.
Mine was they put my jaw, like it kind of moved my back jaw forward a little bit, kind of like gives me an underbite, so it's supposed to open the airway, but I don't know.
That's not the best one.
Yeah,
there's a better one than that. For me, it's a life changer. It changed my fucking life. It's guys who work out a lot in particular, you develop big neck muscles, and that can constrict the air hole. Mm-hmm. And your tongue can fall back on that, especially if you lie on your back. Like if I lie on my back, dude, it sounds horrible. It's it sounds like choking, and it's just terrific.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. So what did he have you do?
Lance or
Lance.
Oh, so I mean, I did a good ride with him. We did like some vehicle drafting, which was actually like surprisingly really fucking hard because you have to stay close enough to the vehicle to where you're like in that draft. But then if you get caught by a crosswind, and plus if you're drafting a vehicle, you can't see like what's in the road. And if you hit any shit in the road, or there's a because on my race I blew out a front tire doing like 30 something downhill and almost crashed. And I was like on the highway doing this too. So I like they have those things that like wake you up when you're sleeping. Those big fucking yeah. So try hitting that on a fucking bicycle with little skinny tires doing like 30 miles an hour. Like that shit's gnarly. So it like sent me into the fucking highway, and I'm getting passed by like tractor trailers at like 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. Which, if you think about it, if you're in a car and it like weighs 5,000 pounds and it can pull a car, imagine what it does to a guy on a bike that weighs 200 pounds plus fucking 10 bike pounds.
Well, we didn't explain the bet. What was the bet?
So it actually originally, we're in a poker game, and this guy Bill Perkins, he just makes crazy bets all the time because he's a real rich guy and he likes to just fucking make people do crazy shit. And it's kind of like it's the poker world too. So the first bet was he bet my brother that he couldn't go 3 days without saying the word "the." I think it was. He bet him like 100,000 or something like that. And then I think he basically just wanted to shut my brother up. He just wanted to pay $100,000 to do it because he's like, "Fuck you." So it worked. Well, he ended up buying out because he realized that my brother was just like such a stubborn asshole that he just like wasn't going to talk for 3 days. And he's like married with kids, so he like doesn't have to go out and get any pussy, and like you could probably just like sit home with his fucking miserable dogs and just like not talk for 3 days and just collect $100,000. So he ended up buying out of that. But
It's on the honor system, right? I mean, he has
yeah, all this honor system. I mean, that's the thing about the poker community is like you lie one fucking time or you don't pay a debt back and you're just done. Like nobody will fuck with you. So you know, your word has to be good, which is kind of like, you know, one of my things which, you know, irritates me, like when people say that I'm not authentic, because I take like great pride in like, you know, being fucking 100% honest about everything, you know. So, and that's been like drilled in through 13, 14 years of gambling.
That's a big one though if you're married, because your wife would be like, listen, it's me. With me, the bet doesn't count. Okay, you have to say the.
Yeah, no, that my brother would have told him. And so, you know, we were just discussing crazy shit because in the poker world, they've done crazy stuff. Like one guy bet another guy $5,000 he wouldn't jump in the Shark Tank at Atlantis. Another guy bet that. What was it? I mean, I bet $400,000 on a drag race, and I hadn't even raced a car before. And then there was another. There's been so many crazy ones. I'm just trying to think of the highlight reel. Oh boy. There was one really good one. Anyway, so he ended up betting. I'll think of some other ones later. But he ended up wanting to bet Rick Solomon that he couldn't ride from L.A. to Vegas or Vegas to L.A. or whatever on a bicycle in 48 hours. And Rick like called one of his buddies that has like set some Guinness Book of World Records things and asked him, and the guy's like, look, like it's not gonna fucking happen, buddy. You can't do this. And so Rick ended up turning down the bet, and it was just like really intriguing to me because I'm always up for physical tests. You know, like during you know Hell Week, you stay up for it's 5.5 days with no sleep, and you run 144 miles like boats and telephone poles, and you get hypothermia, and you're doing all this like crazy shit. You don't sleep for 5.5 days, and you're just going the entire time, right? So I've like put myself through some like, and I did 2 of those, right? So I've put myself through some like real serious like physical tests. And one of the things that you learn there is that your body's just capable of way more than what you think or anybody else thinks is capable of doing. But one other thing that you learn in gambling is that like there's certain things that sound like a good bet that just aren't. Just like drinking a gallon of milk in an hour. Like that sounds pretty fucking easy, right? But like there's something with the lactose which like most people just physically can't do it without puking, right? Because there's just like some weird thing. But like who would guess that? Or like saltine crackers. Like you can't, you know what I mean? Like there's like these weird little things that like sound super easy but you just can't do.
Yeah, I would think a gallon of milk would be totally doable.
Yeah, right. But it's like it's like a thing. I mean, I remember I like bet a fraternity brother, and he ended up puking. Like I bet him before his midterm, and I remember in his midterm he ended up vomiting on a girl. He got kicked out of his class. Like he projectile vomited like a gallon of milk onto a girl in his midterm. It was like pretty fucking brutal. And I was like, yeah, we had some funny midterm stories. I actually ended up taking my vitamins one morning with, I had a thing of GHB, and it looks just like water, right?
Oh, no.
And so I ended up taking like a full swallow because I had all these horse pills. So I took like a full swig. And I was like, holy fuck. I had about 20, 30 minutes before I turned into a fucking wild animal, right? And so I just like got in my car and I drove right down, and I like called my buddy. I was like, hey, I got to go take this final. I was like, I'm going to be fucking lights out in 30 minutes. You got to like come pick me up, but I got to like finish as much as I can, right? So I go in there and I got like halfway through the test, and I was just like, he ended up like carrying me out.
Yeah, you just black out, right?
Yeah, I was a fuck out.
They call it, it's a date rape drug.
I think that's Rohypnol.
But I mean, GHB as well. They've used that on people too.
Yeah, you'd have to be a real fucking asshole to do that, because if you mix GHB with alcohol, like, you can kill somebody. Yeah. So
I know people have done it though.
Yeah, you got to be pretty hard up for pussy to like risk killing a girl to fuck her. But I don't know.
Have you ever seen? Speaking of the throwing up from drinking too much milk, did you ever see the Opie and Anthony sketch with the baby bird? Did you ever see Baby Bird? You know what that is?
No.
Maybe the most disgusting stunt that anyone's ever done on the radio. They had an eggnog drinking contest.
Okay.
And this dude, he drank 72 shots of eggnog. Is that what it was? Something like that. But then projectile vomited. And then we were trying to figure out what to do here. Before you play this, pause this for a second because let me explain it. He knew he was going to throw up. So they had this intern named Pat Duffy. This intern's fucking crazy. And Dave from Munaki? No, who was the other guy?
I don't know. I've heard that name.
Pat from Munaki is the guy who throws up. And Pat Duffy is the guy who is laying down there. and we were trying to figure out what to do with the throw up. Like he said, I'm going to throw up. And so this guy,
was this
Pat
a
Duffy,
bet or like what was the?
No. He's an intern. He's a fucking animal.
And
This
you're
kid's
just
crazy.
fucking with him, or
no,
he was
no,
just trying to prove he's a man?
He would do anything.
Okay,
he would fucking do
one of
anything
those guys.
just for the story and just for the gag. So we say, okay, here's the idea, because I was hosting Fear Factor at the time. I go, here's the idea. You lean your head over the edge of this garbage pail, and he throws up in your mouth. And he's like, I'll do it. And we're like, no fucking way. And I think Bill Burr was the one who named it. He named it the Baby Bird. And so just watch this, because the sheer volume, you're not even going to believe that this is really... I'm at Caroline's all weekend long. There's the plug. So Pat had won this before. I mean, he obviously is a giant dude, and he was on number 72. And this other kid, Pat Duffy, sitting there with his head leaning. He's sitting in a chair, leaning back with his head over this barrel.
Oh my God.
And to this day, I mean, they've got tarps all over the ground. Who else was there? Ari Shaffir was there. I think Red Band was there. To this day, maybe one of the best moments of my life. Just because it was so completely fucking ridiculous. Yeah. So here it comes. He's like, here we go. He takes one last chuck, and he's like, I'm going to throw up. Watch this.
Oh, my God.
No, you haven't seen nothing. You haven't seen nothing. He throws in his face. No. Look at this.
Oh.
No, it keeps going. This is nothing. When you think it's over, it keeps going. Now watch. You think it's over. Like there's no way he has more in. No, he's got way more inside of him. Look at this.
Oh. Oh my God.
No, it's not over.
Oh.
Jesus
That has to be
Christ.
going up his fucking
Watch. Keep watching.
Oh
He's not
my
even
God.
done. He's not even done.
Oh.
How is it possible?
Holy
How is it possible?
shit.
How is it possible?
Oh my God. That was like the chick in the midterm.
Hang on, more.
Oh my God.
And this is not fake. I mean, I was there, and we were all there.
my
We all saw
God.
this live, and I think he has one more inside of him. He gets one more off. Nope, he said that's it. He's done.
Oh my God. Hold on. I
One
got
of the greatest-
That's so fucking brutal. Hang on.
Go ahead.
God.
One of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. We're gonna get back to this bike racing story, ladies and gentlemen, in a moment. Ridiculous, huh?
I'm remembering, I don't think it was on, it might have been on one of the Jackass movies or the TV show. Bam's uncle, his crazy uncle, drank like 70 shots of peach schnapps.
70.
Something
Oh,
crazy,
that's right.
A shitload of
It was
amounts, crazy.
Bam
Don
Margera.
Vito. It was his
yeah.
uncle, Don Vito.
The big guy.
Yeah. And he started
70? 70?
projectile vomiting all. I think it was 7. It was a lot. It was way more than 20. I don't
Oh
know
my
if it was
God.
20, but
You could die from that. There was a woman in San Jose or Sacramento, one of those places, where she was doing a radio contest. And it was like, how much water can you drink? And she died from drinking water. Like, if you drink too much water, you could die.
Did this guy get sick from this vomit stuff at all?
The kid,
Yeah.
Pat? No. The kid's bulletproof. Just doesn't get sick. That guy ate cat shit. He brushed his teeth with cat shit. He also ate Fruit Loops in the puke. Like, he took a bowl of Fruit Loops and mixed it with the puke and ate the Fruit Loops. Yeah. There's people out there that are different than you and I, Jamie. There's people that can do things that we can't do.
Why though?
Why?
I mean,
I don't know. Just for the story.
What's he up to now?
I don't know. Well, we're talking about him, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about him. So it's like, it's one of those things. Like, that's why he did it. We're still talking about him.
This was in a world pre-YouTube, really, right?
I don't remember when it was. It says 2008, but I don't think that's correct. I feel like it was earlier than that. I feel like it was like 2003 or 4 or something like that. I think it was a long time ago.
God, that was so crazy.
It's insane, right?
Oh my God.
So
I think that was like the guy in college. It was
So-
similar to that.
So back to the bet.
Mm-hmm.
So the bet is that you can't ride a bike from LA to Vegas. Do you have a starting point?
Oh yeah. So basically it was, so he was going to bet this guy and he like looked into it and he's like, nah, that's like not possible. And I was hanging out and I was just like, fuck, I was like doing some research on it. And I like looked it up and I like Googled like, you know, how to prepare for a 300-mile bike ride in a month. And like nothing came up. It came up like how to prepare for a 100-mile in like 3 months, right? So I'm just like, that's not a good sign. But I just like, I don't know, something about me just thought it was possible. And so I was like talking to Bill, I was like trying to get more time. And I talked to like some buddies that were cyclists. Like, look, they're like, if you had time to like train for this, like you could do it. Like, but there's fucking no way, like just off the couch, you could do it. And I'm like, how long, do I need? And they're like, minimum 3 months. So I'm talking to Bill, and I kind of like want the bet, but I'm just like, I don't know how much money I really want to risk. And so he ended up saying that he would give me, because the initial bet was like, you just had to go do it tomorrow, right? And I was like, there's no fucking way, like, and then he goes, well, I'll give you a month. And I go, give me, it was like until X date, and it was like a little under 6 weeks. I was like, and I'll do it. And he's like, how much do you want to bet? I was like, $600,000. Because I wanted to bet enough to where like I would do it, but I didn't want to bet too much to where like I'd not only like fucking break my ass, but like, just lose a shitload. So it's like 600 seemed like it was a good number. So we made the bet, and I started doing some research. So I go down to the bike shop, and I'm like, oh, like I need a bike. Like I'm doing a triple century ride. And the guy's like, oh, like how much biking? And I was like, oh, like I haven't been on a bike like ever really. I did some mountain biking like 19 years. And the guy just like, that response. He just like laughed at me. I'm like, no, like really, like I got to do it. I got like 5 weeks. And he just like looked at me like I was a complete fucking retard. And I'm like, no, like I've got to bet, like I'm going to do it. And the guy's like, okay, like what kind of bike do you want? I'm like, I don't know. Like you're the bike shop. Like tell me, like I had no fucking idea. Right. So he gives me like this race bike, which is like super fucking uncomfortable. So I go out and I ride this thing, and I rode it like, I don't know, for like 45 minutes. And my ass was just like fucking in so much pain. And I'm like, I am fucked. Like, I think I made it like 11 miles. And I was just like, this is going to be really brutal. And so I ended up finding like a bike where like you could sit down a little bit more as like a recumbent or whatever. It looked like a low rider bicycle, right? Okay, so that'll like kind of alleviate a little bit of like the ass issue. And it gave me like a slightly different like pedaling position. So I got that, and then I felt a little bit better about the bet. And then I had like ridden a little bit, but like nothing over like 20 or 30 miles. And that was like, kind of like going hard. And then I talked to you, and I talked to Lance, and Lance is like, oh, if you use a fucking any other bike other than a road bike, like I'm not fucking, I can't have anything to do with this. And I'm like,
why?
I don't know, because it's like a fucking, I don't know.
It's a purist?
Yeah, he's a bike, or I don't fucking know. So I'm just like, well, listen, buddy, I'm betting big money on this. I'm like, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I got to do to fucking make it there on a bicycle, right? And so anyways, then I bet Rick Solomon. Rick thought I was going to die because like the route that I chose was like on the freeway, and I didn't have a police escort at the time. So he's like, this guy's going to be driving on the freeway at night. Like there's going to be trucks past him. Like he's got a decent chance of dying. So, and he's like in the heart attack thing. And I actually went to the hospital because I was like having some like shoulder pain again, and it felt very similar to the last thing. So I was like, fuck. So Rick is like,
This is why you were training, you were having shoulder pain?
Yeah, like after I had done like a long ride, one of the nights, like I actually went to the hospital. I was like kind of worried. And so Rick was like saying that, and I was like, let's bet that I'll bet you I don't die. And I was like, and I'll give you odds. I was like, because for me, I'm like, well, fuck, I can't take it with me. If I do die, like, fuck it, like, and then it would like up the stakes for me without really like too much risk. And so I was like, I'll bet you whatever the fuck you want. You know what I mean? Like, I'll bet you my plane. And I was like, and I'll give you, I think it was like 10 to 1 or 21. I think it was like, I gave him like, fuck, I think I initially offered him like 20 to 1 odds, and then we settled at like, I don't know. It ended up being where he would lose 250,000, and I would give him like my plane plus my pilots for, he got my plane, and then I'd pay the pilots for a year. We like had all
but
these.
You had to die.
You had to die. But if I didn't complete the race, then it was like a wash. For me, I'm just like, fuck. It's like, because Rick didn't think I could do it, period, right? So he didn't think there was a possibility that I could do it. And then he thought there was a decent chance that I could die. So for him, he thought he was kind of free rolling. And for me, I was free rolling because it's like, if I die, well, okay, I don't need the fucking plane. It ain't going to take me to hell, right? So like, I'm good. So I made the bet with him. So And then I bet a little bit on the side with somebody else. So I basically had $1 million on it when I finally ended up doing it. And I got a police escort like through Vegas. So it's so funny because I had like 11 squad cars like blocking off all the intersections. And here comes this fucking dildo on a bicycle, like riding right through it. I'm like, have all like, you're expecting like presidential motorcade to come, or like, somebody, like everybody's like looking to see like what, there's fucking 11 squad cars blocking off every intersection. And here's just this fucking asshole on a bicycle.
Well, a lot of people knew that you were going to do it, but they didn't know when you were going to do it.
Yeah.
So you didn't announce when
I didn't want to announce it because I didn't want people to fuck with me. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want fans to like come out and, or people that hated me or anything, right? I just wanted to, this is bad enough as it was. I had to be on the fucking highway. So I ended up leaving from Vegas, and I did it in about 32 hours. Was the
whoa? And what was the bet?
It was 48.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I just remember because there was because he was giving me some shit about, because I was allowed to draft, but he was saying that the van that I had the doors open. Because you had to leave the doors open because I wanted to talk to my coach, and they were like filming it and stuff. So we had the doors open. So he was like bitching. Rick was bitching about that, which was kind of stupid for Rick to bitch about, because that was like what made it the least safe of all was, drafting off a car, because you got to be like 6 inches from this car and you can't see like shit in the road.
So if they have to slam on the brakes,
you're fucking
fucked.
In the car, you're crashing. And we had times when there was a there was a time when we were on a fucking 1-lane road, right? And there's 1 lane, and we're in this lane, and there's a lane going this way, and we had a car come to pass us as another car was coming and miss like our van by like inches, and they were doing like 50-60 miles an hour, like cross. If they were to crash, like I would have been dead for sure. Like it was fucking bad. And so like shit got pretty gnarly some of the spots. I blew out a tire doing like 30 something miles an hour downhill. I mean, it was. Did you rest at all while you're doing this? Yeah, I slept for like an hour or two, maybe an hour and a half. And then I like stopped to eat, but it was mostly just truck the whole way through.
So you stayed on this like recumbent style bike the whole time?
No, I did half of it on that and half on a road bike. And the second half of it, I did no drafting. I just did a road bike with no drafting.
How come no drafting?
He was bitching about it, and I was just like, fuck it, I don't need it.
He was bitching about it while you were riding? How did he know?
So I'm
was he there?
Oh yeah, he was following me. So I'm having like arguments with him, and I was just like, it was helpful, but it only helped on like flat, so it doesn't help at all on the uphill. Right? So no uphill, it helps. And on the downhill, I didn't need it because you're going so fucking fast that like you don't really want to be going more than like 30, 40 miles an hour on downhills, because like if you hit shit in the road, like you crash, like you're fucked. You know what I mean? Like if I crash, like I couldn't finish the thing. So there's that, and there's shit on the road. I mean, I'm on like the side of a highway. There's like tires and nails, and you know what I mean? Like, so you don't really want to be going like, and I couldn't go on the highway because I couldn't get the police escort for the actual highway. The CHP wouldn't do the highway portion of it. So which sucked, because that was like the most dangerous part. So I was in the breakdown lane instead of like actually being in like one of the lanes. So there's just shit in the breakdown lanes, there's like fucking nails and whatever.
And you're doing it at night.
Yeah, it was like pitch black sometimes. We had fucking like high winds. I mean, it was gnarly. It got down to like 34 degrees at one point, plus with the winds. I mean, I had a ski jacket on. I mean, it was fucking...
Were you thinking to yourself, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of those moments in my life, but I was more like thinking like, I just didn't know if I could do it. I just didn't know like physically, because I had just never done any biking. I didn't know if my legs were just gonna like not be able to go anymore. I had no like real experience in it, so I didn't. That was my real concern, was just that like I just knew mentally like I was just never gonna quit. I just didn't want to get injured or like just physically not be capable. That was like my two concerns.
This is a video of you doing it?
Watch this. Look at this. Look at these two cars. That was one fucking lane. They just passed each other.
Yeah, that was very close.
That was it. Right there.
38 hours.
No, 32.
32 hours.
Yeah.
So 48 hours was the bet, and you did it in 32. Mm-hmm. How pissed was he when you won?
He actually took it like a champ. He didn't really give a shit. That was pretty crazy. He got a lot of money.
He's a baller.
He is, for sure.
What is this? Is this your house?
That's my house, yeah. Just
pulling up
I can
after
pull
it's
up
over?
on the bike, yeah. That's pretty crazy, right?
So
I looked like the Grinch the next day. I was like, green, fuck.
You said the most you won is 51 million? That was the most you've ever
54.
won? 54?
But not in one sitting. That was over a course of 8-9 months.
And that was just you going at it with this one dude?
One dude, yeah.
And you guys playing one-on-one when you're doing shit like that? Mm-hmm. Oh, my God.
I remember there was one point where I was sitting there.
That's a granola bar, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Like, what the fuck is that sound?
And I checked my watch. It's been a while. So there was one point when I had $18 million in front of me, and he had me covered. So if he said all in, I had to make a decision for $18 million.
Oh, my God.
You know, he's a billionaire. He didn't give a fuck.
18 million on a hand.
Go in one hand of poker.
What's the most you've ever had on one hand?
Let's see here. It was 6 million, 12. I think it was like 14 million, 15 million bucks.
Now, obviously, you had to build up to this. Like, at any point in time while you're gambling these ridiculous sums of money, I mean, this is not that long since you were broke. I mean, this is like you going from college to you doing this. You know, we're only talking about a decade or so.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.